All right.
Welcome, everyone, to MS Office Hours. It is Thursday, April 4th. Let me please introduce our hosts.
Hello, everyone. My name is Victoria Dean.
And I'm Andrea Singrio, and we are so excited to have you with us today. And I am thrilled because Callie is one of my very dear friends from back in the day when I was in the classroom, back when we were teaching and doing all of those things. So it's always awesome to see him join us, and he's going to be talking to us about Surface. So we'll go off camera. Y'all be nice to Callie, and he's going to talk about Surface and some updates we've gotten.
Outstanding. So thank you all so much for having me. And yes, Andrea and I go way back to our days in Fulton County. She was a great teacher and has continued that greatness now in her role here at Microsoft. So very happy to still be able to connect with her and to have opportunities to kind of share what one another come across and use those opportunities to sharpen steel of one another, so to speak. But yeah, so I'm Callie Alford. I'm a Surface specialist with Microsoft. And let me actually pull up a quick slide deck here. Um, Former educator, as Andrea mentioned, in Fulton County, several districts here in the metro area in Atlanta. And after that, worked with a nonprofit under Verizon to assist school districts across the country with device integration. So what I want to talk to you all today about is some of our recent announcements and changes to the Surface portfolio that we've made as of a couple of weeks ago around our AI story. So no secret, you all are very familiar with what we offer in terms of Copilot and how much that has really started to take a hold of what productivity looks like today, and even more so what it can look like tomorrow. So these announcements are very much so right along with that. To ensure that we're as a Surface brand are able to add our 2 cents into that story and be a part of what AI and Copilot are going to be able to enable in your institutions. So just a very quick high-level recap. You all are very familiar with this, but for our folks that maybe aren't, Microsoft and its investments in AI in education, as you're familiar with Microsoft Copilot, be that Copilot, formerly Bing Chat Enterprise, Copilot for M365 and Copilot Windows. Also, the investments we've made in the education space to ensure that educators are familiar with AI, not terrified of AI, equipped with AI, so that they and their students can make use of it as they would any other learning tool that's come and revolutionized the classroom, be that calculators, abacus, computers, what have you. And on that but one point, just to throw this out, we had a consortia discussion around AI, and I forget the speaker's name, so I apologize for not being able to properly cite them for saying this. But you often hear the fear about how AI is going to take our jobs. And the speaker made the point that AI is not going to take your job. Somebody using AI may take your job. So I think it falls upon ourselves as educators to ensure that we're able to use AI in our classrooms, that our students are able to use AI in their daily lives or in their work lives later in life, and be able to use that effectively. And I think that speaks to what Microsoft has invested in terms of creating content to familiarize all of our users with what we offer from an AI perspective and what that can enable. And then lastly, what we've done in terms of your copilots and what you're able to create that's specific to your institutions with AI Studio and Copilot Studio, Azure AI Studio and Copilot Studio, to ensure that your needs are met in the most granular levels as possible using what we provide with Copilot. So how does this tie into hardware? If AI is something that lives in the cloud, why does it matter about my device? And I think there are very key points to make about what the difference of using AI and Copilot is on a Surface device that I want to call out here in our time together. The great thing about Surface in general is that it is a device that is created by the same people that create the software and the firmware that you all are using. So every aspect of our device comes from the same brain trust, the same one Microsoft, to ensure that it's as optimal an experience as possible. And in fact, I would go as far as to say that the best expression of Windows and Copilot happens on a Surface. So to ensure that those applications that are living in the cloud or those applications that are running locally are able to seamlessly integrate with your OS and ensure that there are special features for productivity, but also optimization that I'll touch on here later, are able to work optimally on a Surface, and also leveraging AI in certain instances that I will try to tiptoe around some aspects of what that looks like in AI now, what that looks like on the surface now, what that may look like in the future, without getting my hand slapped by our powers that be. And it's all meant to create this premium experience for how you are able to use a device for your day-to-day ends. To be able to make the best of your workday while at the same time being as efficient as possible. I will often make the point when I'm talking to educators, especially those at the district level, to think about your workday and to think about the percentage of your workday, or rather how much of the quality of your workday is determined by the quality of your device. If you have a device that's sluggish all day, or you have a device that's loud, or if it's cumbersome, or if it's too thick, it's as thick as a Subway sandwich and you can't put it in your bag easily, think about how much that affects your day and how much it can negatively impact how good a day you possibly have. And I think that's something that we've captured in our Surface devices to kind of alleviate a lot of those day-to-day stressors in our devices and what those look like. So going a little bit further about the Copilot and Surface kind of partnership, if you will, and thinking about 365 Copilot, the different benefits that you have of using that application on a Surface device includes the ability to use those same premium features that I mentioned our devices are designed with to into your function of Copilot. So thinking about our keyboard and how the actual cups of the keys are literally designed to be as comfortable as possible when typing. To ensure that they're also quiet so that you can use transcription, like we mentioned earlier on the call, effectively without having the AI having to combat the sound of your typing with the sounds that are actually meant to be transcribed in your transcriptions. And also being able to use inking when you're using 365 across OneNote, Word, PowerPoint, Excel, Outlook, Loop, all those features that you can use inking with, as well as Copilot to benefit your productivity. Inside of Windows Copilot, this is where I'm going to tiptoe here very carefully. But inside of Windows Copilot, there are features specific to Surface and soon to be specific to other PCs as well that I'll call out a little bit later here in our time together. But really thinking about how we can um, make that use of Copilot as easy as possible. And that's kind of a land, air, sea approach. So whether you're using the voice chat feature, or you're literally typing to interact with Copilot, or you're inking to interact with Copilot, or pressing the Copilot button to interact with Copilot, how do we make that interaction as easy as possible for the end user? Then lastly, with Copilot for Enterprise, or Bing Chat for Enterprise, ensuring that you can use your Surface device in a variety of different places. So the ability to add LTE connectivity to our Surface devices, being able to use Wi-Fi 6E, soon to be Wi-Fi 7 on our devices, so that you have that high-speed internet connection to sustain whatever work you're doing, say inside of Bing Chat Enterprise, or if you're using Dolly, or if you're using ChatGPT, or whatever, that you're able to make sure your functions are working optimally, regardless how complex your prompts are. So with that, I want to share a little bit of our announcement from a couple of weeks back, where we announced 2 new products to our Surface portfolio. So we announced our Surface Pro 10 and our Laptop 6 last week. These are our two devices that are first in our portfolio as AI PCs. And what I mean by that is they are AI powered with a different chipset than any devices in previous iterations of our lineup. These are the first to make use of the Intel Ultra chips, the Surface Pro 10, as well as the Laptop 6. These generate significantly more battery power, battery life, and specifically around what you're able to do mobile, as well as what you're able to do when linking to different peripherals. So you might have noticed in the video there a call out to external monitors. So you're still able to have optimal battery life when using peripheral devices. I'm actually using one of these devices right now. You can't see my setup, but I am plugged in on battery and using an external monitor, as well as a couple of different speakers back here. And I can still use this for an entire workday without necessarily having to go find an outlet to charge it. Additionally, what we've changed with this device, though it is still the same footprint of our previous iterations of our Pro 9 and Pro 8, there are a couple of key differences I'd like to call out. One that you probably noticed literally right out of the box is a different screen. And what I mean by a different screen is we've added anti-reflective technology to our screen. It's something that we've gotten back from feedback from many people, many of our users and testers of our devices to want to have that option. And this screen is not just a film that's applied to it. This is actually built into the display module of the device, so that you're able to go in a variety of different lights, inside, outside, fluorescent, LED, incandescent, whatever kind of lights you're around, and still have a anti-glare surface, so, pun intended, anti-glare surface there on the screen. So you should make sure you're able to see what you need to see on your screen clearly. We've also added AI enhancements to our camera, and it's a 114-degree wide screen, a wide field of view camera. And what I mean by the AI enhancements, you can kind of see a little bit here. I'll demonstrate here on camera. We've added some Windows Studio Effects features to this device that were previously on our Laptop Studio 2 and our Surface Pro 9 with 5G, that particular SKU only. Now it is on our Pro 9, excuse me, our Pro 10 and our Surface Laptop 6 as well. So things like portrait blur, you'll notice behind me that there's a very fine blur around my background. It's very close to my silhouette here, as well as softness. I try to moisturize, but what I can't do, the AI and the camera is doing for me. And then there's also automatic framing. So if I move back, you'll notice my camera is going to frame here on me and pan and tilt and zoom. So the AI actually simulates the same functions that a PTZ pan, tilt, zoom camera would do otherwise. So you're able to really get as best an experience as you possibly can on this device while you're on telecommunications calls, be that Teams, Zoom, WebEx, what have you. Windows Studio Effects is something that is built into the operating system, so it's not specific to whatever application you're in. You can use that across any type of teleconferencing or application that uses a camera. What you'll also notice on this device, as well as our Surface Laptop 6 here, what I'll talk about here in a second, is the addition of a Copilot key on the keyboard. This is going to replace what previously was the menu key on your keyboards, your type covers, and your actual Surface keyboards. This allows you to bring up Copilot wherever you are in any application. So if you immediately wanted to ask Copilot a question, send Copilot a command, or start to get Copilot to transcribe something, you can use that button to immediately go to Copilot without having to minimize your window, find the right window, or get to the desktop to get to the Copilot button from there. So again, wanting to make that process of using Copilot as easy as possible. A little bit about our Laptop 6 here. Very similar to our previous iterations of laptop. This comes in a 13-inch and a 15-inch. Also has the Windows Copilot key on the keyboard. What we've added to this is an additional Thunderbolt port. So you're now able to connect more peripherals to this device, just like you could with, say, our Laptop Studio 2. We've also enhanced the AI camera on this one, so those same Windows Studio effects that I just showed you with the pan, tilt, zoom, the soft focus, the soft blur are available on here as well. We've actually upped our Omnisonic Studio speakers, so that it does reject more sound other than what you want to be recorded when you're doing a transcription, or you want to be communicated back to your audience when you're on calls like this. The idea there is that it's able to use the same AI capability, which I'll talk a little bit more about here in a second, to do what's called voice isolation. So it will pick up on your particular voice and will reject all other audio profiles, be that someone else talking in the background, someone with a leaf blower outside, your little coworkers that are home from spring break. All of those sounds will be rejected, and it captures your voice more clearly and more crisp, so that your audience could hear you talk on there as well. The same anti-reflective screen is going to be featured on this that is featured on the Pro 10. Again, so making sure that you aren't limited by the amount of lights in whatever environment you're working in, of how much you're able to see on your screen and your display. All right. So I've used this term AI PC, and I want to unpack this a little bit for those of us who are maybe unfamiliar with this concept. Typically with a PC, you'll notice there are, your commonplace chips, your CPUs and your GPUs, and those are your workhorses, so to speak, of what processes are being run on your device. And oftentimes, if you see a large workload, or if you're running something that's very intensive, 3D modeling, video editing, 3D graphics, things of that nature, those two chipsets are often doing a bulk of that work. So then when you introduce another type of process, your AI processes into it, that's even more work for those chips to do. But the addition of an NPU, a neural processing unit, alleviates a lot of that burden on those previous chipsets. And that's what gives us our increased productivity and our increased battery life on these Intel Core Ultra powered AI PCs. So in thinking about this, a little bit more, your CPU is typically your mainstay of your computer. It's what does the main operations, your basic functions. If you were to step up and then add into that, needing to render 2D, 3D objects, certain frame rates of videos, or if you're gaming, for example, you would use your GPU for these processes. And up until this point, more recently, about 2019-ish, this GPU was responsible for many of those AI functions. And that really did drain a lot of power from the battery. It also generated a lot of heat and thermals. But now, with the addition of an NPU that is dedicated to those AI processes, it takes the workload off of those two previous chipsets, and it essentially divides the work in threes. So that way you are able to, like I said, you could get more battery power out of your device, more productivity out of your device, to ensure you have all the power you need when you're using AI functions like Windows Studio Effects, possibly like Copilot in the future. And you're also any third-party apps that use AI functions as well could make use of that NPU on a Surface device. So what does that look like? You can see here just kind of a visual of what that workload decrease looks like when you add a CPU, you add an NPU into that equation. So what is here on the left without the NPU is your typical CPU workload when you're doing things that would have been like, say, background blur inside of Teams, and what that kind of draws from your processes and your rotations on your device. When you add an NPU into that, you almost cut that CPU workload in half on a Teams call. When you're using a PowerPoint presentation, have your Outlook open with that Teams call. And your AI then takes on the Windows Studio Effects, the blur background, which takes a lot of resources from the CPU. Eye contact and voice focus is the other feature that I mentioned when it comes to Windows Studio Effects. Why this is important is not just to make you look and sound good on a call, but it's also to make sure you're able to get as great a use out of Copilot as possible. We've mentioned many times before about one of the best features within Copilot and Teams is the ability to recap meetings, do transcriptions, or live captions, especially if you're doing a live event with a Teams town hall. And it helps to have a Surface device do that, because it makes sure that you can hear what you need to hear, and your AI can hear what it needs to hear to accurately transcribe that meeting. So that way there's no question going afterward about, well, what was said, who was it said by. with an NPU that's able to dedicate itself to the features of AI use on those devices, you're able to make sure you get as clear an end result, as an ideal as end result as possible when using Copilot on a Surface device. And then just to recap here on the Windows Studio effects that I mentioned, the automatic framing that I showed you with the simulating the PTZ camera, portrait blur, which you see here behind me. The one I did not mention is eye contact, which I'm not sure if you've actually noticed or not, but whether I'm looking at my keyboard or looking at the camera, eye contact kind of redirects my eye so that it looks like I'm looking at you the entire time. So it maintains eye contact, even though that's something that can be kind of strenuous to maintain during your typical video calls. And seeing we're a little short here on time, I'm going to try to hit the lightning round on a couple of these pieces. So I won't go through these specifically around these studio effect features, but what I will do is skip ahead here. Here we are. To something that I think is very important to call out as a part of our announcement a couple weeks back about some changes that are coming inside of Intune as it relates to Surface. So if you have Surface inside of your tenant, inside of your environment, or you're using Surface devices, you may or may not be aware of the Surface Management Portal. What this adds is an additional layer of granular device management specific to Surface that you can use to make sure that all your devices are in compliance, your devices are all up to date, your devices are all assigned to the right users. You can push out updates, hot fixes, feature updates using the Surface Management Portal, and you can manage your warranty claims if any of those pop up or anything along those lines with the new features inside of Surface Management Portal. So to start us into our descent here to land this plane, I wanted to share one more video from our launch around the Surface Management Portal updates. And it looks like my audio is not coming through here, so I'm going to try to talk through this. So this is designed for and by IT professionals to ensure that you have this feature inside of Intune for your Surface devices. And this is, again, something that we use as a means of setting a standard of what we would expect for all of the devices to be able to do with our product, that being Intune. So being able to manage the health of all your devices, how are they being used, whom are they being used by, manage your support requests, see where your devices are in transit going to this ASP, your authorized service provider, coming back from your authorized service provider. The work of an IT professional is, in a word, Herculean at best, right? It's something that is thankless many times, and the workload seems to just grow and grow and grow, no matter how much technology seems to advance. But we recognize that, and this is one of our steps towards making that job more efficient for our IT professionals, and what you have to do as a part of device management inside of a district, inside of a college, a university, or what have you. What we do with Surface to ensure that you have the ability to manage it granularly is some feedback that we have gotten continually over the past several years, and we are very pleased to be able to bring that to you in this update inside of Intune. So with that, I want to also throw out here this promo that we're running. If any institution or any of you all out there, education customers, have purchased Surface, have purchased Copilot licenses or in practice of testing out Copilot licenses, you are eligible for a 7% discount on specific Surface SKUs. So our Surface Laptop 6, our Surface Pro 10, our recently announced devices, as well as our Surface Laptop Studio 2. You can get 7% on those devices if you have purchased Copilot. If you'd like more information on this, please reach out to your Microsoft representative or your Surface specialist to get more information on how you can take advantage of this promotion that runs until the end of June. So with that, I thank you all so much for your time. I believe that I will turn it back over to Victoria and Andrea. And if there is anything that I can answer, please feel free to throw those in the chat.
We got a couple minutes left here. We've got probably 5 if I'm reading the clock correct. So if you've got questions for Callie, definitely now's your chance. I'm going to go ahead and stop that recording, but we can hang for a minute and get any questions.